Okay, let's give it a second or two and I will start now. Okay, um, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. What's going on, y'all? I wanted to talk about theory versus practical, right? And this is kind of inspired by a lot of conversations. Once again, like the one, like the video I did yesterday. I really wanted to speak about some of the theories we have and being practical. So I am going to give the definition for theory in a minute, and the definition and some of the way we speak. Specifically, I'm going to focus this conversation because there's multiple ways I can go with this. I can speak about intimate relationships between men and women, particularly in the Black community. I can also speak about left and right political paradigm, um, which I'm tempted to do also when it comes to the theory versus practical conversation. Um, and by the way, random shout out to Dr. Thunder for his recent video. I'm listening to it. So I would probably be making commentary about that soon-ish. Right. Once again, shout out to Dr. Thunder. Um, you know, I guess for the first people that get in, um, let me know in the comments that you're in. Okay. So the definition of theory: a supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principle, independent of the thing to be explained. Independent of the thing to be explained, right? So let's say that again. A supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles, independent of the thing to be explained. That's theory. Now, practical: of or concerned with the actual doing or use of something rather than the theory and ideas. Once again, practical: of or concerned with the actual doing or use of something rather than the theory and ideas. Okay, now when we look at the Black community, and some of this is inspired by Khadijah, by other content creators, FD Signifier, some of these people that create video essays, a lot of these people that call themselves queer. This is also inspired by Themis. Um, this is inspired by many LGBTQ Black people who have theories about man-woman relationships, or specific man-woman relationships, intimate relationships. And they have these theories, and oftentimes these people are LGBTQ. They will tell you that they are queer, and they have these ideas and concepts, these theories on how things should work, independent of how they actually work and how they're probably going to work for this foreseeable future, if not forever, right? And so, one of Khadijah's recent videos, towards the end, she speaks about being non-binary and, like, the ebb and flow of masculinity and femininity, and who can exhibit it. Also, this is also inspired by Griffin, the white gentleman that was on the top left-hand corner of the conversation, the men's conversation on Vice, right? And so yeah, so we're speaking about them because, or we're speaking about theory versus practice because, particularly LGBTQ and non-binary folks have these theories, train tracks, have these theories about how these things should work, independent of how they do work, right? And I say this all the time. I want to stress it here. even if we snapped our fingers tomorrow and the men were like putty, heterosexual, cisgender, straight men were like putty, and they would be what you want them to be, you would have to contend with heterosexual, cisgender women and them being incensed that you change heterosexual men this much because they don't want what y'all are selling. Now, they will use Themis as a rhetorical weapon against heterosexual black men. They will use Griffin as a rhetorical weapon against heterosexual men in general. They will use Funky Geneva spoke about this or bust y'all out a couple of times. And by the way, for anyone listening, please put a comment in the comment section so I can know y'all are listening. But they will use these LGBTQ characters and some of their talking points against black men, particularly in conversation, in debate. But they're not interested outside of that, right? Oh, and thank you, grab second gear. Thank you. You know, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't talking to myself. But even if I was going to make this video anyway. So, you know, so it sounds nice. A lot of this stuff sounds nice, and we, you know, so what I'm saying with that is, oh yeah, Funky Geneva, and I want to say bust y'all out, use some slang with this, but bust y'all out a couple of times when Funky Geneva was speaking to Claudia Jordan. He spoke about this, and for those of you that don't know, Funky Geneva is, I guess Funky Geneva would be non-binary too, right? Because this is like a man that wears makeup and dresses and stuff. But I don't know if Funky Geneva is on the trans thing, because I don't think so. I think he's just a LGBTQ brother that also wears makeup and other stuff. But I don't think he like wants to transition to being a woman. But either way, there was once a couple years ago where he spoke of this horrible story that happened to him. I guess he got into a back and forth with a celebrity or one of those near celebrities, and all of a sudden he went from, you know, the fun gay friend to like, oh, you're a man, right? And he spoke of how in a very candid moment, he spoke of how black women in particular kind of use LGBTQ black men to have somebody to talk to on some, but like essentially getting manhood on discount, right? You don't have to worry about the sexual energy. You don't have to worry about any of that. And you get to be around a man without these type of things, but you love it when both of y'all are speaking about how men ain't ish and whatever. But you don't actually mean it, right? You don't actually, or better yet, it's not that you don't actually mean it. It's that you start to, when you and that LGBTQ brother get into it, all of a sudden he's just a man. He's no longer your gay friend, he's just a man, right? And he also, once again, brought this up when he was speaking about, what's the dude's name? The chubby gay brother, saying that gay men like him are reteaching women femininity or something along those lines. And Funky Geneva brought it up again. And the other LGBTQ brother did not disagree with him. So why am I bringing this up in this conversation? To say it's clear, people see it, right? That when we have these conversations, queer folks jumping in the mix, giving their theories and how these things are supposed to work, and being non-binary and not adopting man masculine, women feminine ideas and how detrimental they are. And these are people that will tell you they're queer and they don't have to worry about none of this. There's always an escape hatch for them. That I don't have to do none of this because I don't buy into man straight heterosexual, masculine and woman feminine, straight, feminine, and like, so they don't fully appreciate some of the hypocrisies, and I've said this before, that come from women when it comes to this conversation. They only pay attention to the men and their hypocrisies because they don't understand or fully appreciate how much, and excuse my background, I'm on the expressway right now, excuse if I go in and out a little bit, my apologies, please bear with me. They don't fully appreciate how much femininity is linked to masculinity for heterosexual women. How much women do things for the express pleasure of men, in which they get pleasure from seeing those men happy, right? I think radical feminists understand it, and that's why they have a issue with women doing things for the express pleasure of men, right? So continuing with that theme, when we have these theories of how these things should be and how they should work without practical application, without it being practical, and I want to take a moment of pause right here to say there's nothing wrong with theory. We need it, right? If it wasn't for having a concept, a theory, an idea bigger than what's actually going on, black people possibly would have still been in chains. You wouldn't have the civil rights movement, right? You need people to theorize larger and bigger than what they're actually living. You need people to have a political imagination bigger and larger than what's actually happening on the ground. So Mr. Z is not going to say that theory doesn't matter or play down theory to a certain extent. It matters. It matters. If you don't have theory, you don't have a certain brand of feminism that says, you know what, women, you don't have to be 100% beholden to the men around you, for the good and bad of it. So theory matters. But where we fall off a cliff is when we stop paying attention to actual, some of the natural back and forth between men and women. And we don't care about the natural back and forth between men and women. The dance. All we have is theory and what we believe should be going on, regardless of what's actually going on and what's probably going to be the dance for the foreseeable future, if not forever. Right? This is where bell hooks come in. This is where all of your feminists online come in. This is where Alice Walker come in. This is where all of these feminists, radical feminists come in. They do not care about the actual dance between men and women outside of their theory. And many of these people, because they're queer, don't actually have to deal with the repercussions of their theory on a day-to-day basis, right? They don't have to, it doesn't matter to them. I don't have to worry about men and women relationships because I don't care to be with a heterosexual man. I don't care to be with a man. So it doesn't matter to me. And Khadijah has said as much, right? I have an escape plan. I could advocate for something, watch it crash and burn, because yes, from my understanding, Khadijah does have a younger brother, right? But she doesn't have to date men. So she doesn't have to see how some of the things she advocates for are actually a turn off to her sexually. And what you see is, and some of the sociologists speak to this, women sociologists and researchers, by the way, I want to stress that part, speak of, and Jennifer Lundquist and Dr. Chantel Buggs speak of this when they speak of dating racism and what women online swipe right on. And how it's essentially the white man, men with beards, white men with authority and power. And how some of these people are all across the spectrum when it comes to their sexuality. But yet, when you ask them what they're into, they'll give you all of this virtue signaling concepts, but when they actually have to go out and hunt for a man, it's mainly white men that show some type of authority and power. Once again, theory and practice. In theory, it's the age old, yeah, I'm okay with LGBTQ and people should love who they love and I don't care what people do in their bedroom. Yeah, but what about your son? Excuse me. What about your son coming home LGBTQ? Oh, see, on that thought, yeah, because you want grandchildren and you want your grandchildren to resemble you in some way, to have your blood flowing through their veins. So in practice, what's practical is most likely your child coming home with someone of the opposite sex. So in theory, you're perfectly okay with LGBTQ, right? But in practice, not so much, right? So that's what we speak about, what's practical versus theory. And we need to be honest about that, right? We need to be honest about that. And I think sometimes some of these kind of interlopers, when they come up with all of their ideology and I think or I feel or I believe that it should be this way, and then you find out they're queer and you're like, yeah, but you don't have to deal with the consequences of advocating for this thing and it doesn't work. Heterosexual men have to be on the opposite side or be on the receiving end of all of your theories about non-binary in a perfect power distribution between men and women. And when it doesn't work that this man earns less, as much or less than his girlfriend or wife, and how she acts towards it. I want to be very clear. Not about how insecure he is, but how insecure she is. Not because she's afraid of his insecurity, but because now all of a sudden he's unattractive. Or all of a sudden it's something about, I don't like this power distribution. Yeah, y'all heard right. Once again, it sounds nice, but in practice, and there's so much data on women filing for divorce after she starts to earn more than him or he loses his job, regardless of what he's on. There's so much data on this, women filing for divorce because of money issues or irreconcilable difference. That's because of money issues. Women filing for divorce, not the men. We keep on speaking about, hey, it's the men that become insecure. You dig in. No, half of the time it's the women that's insecure. Half of the time it's the women and their understanding of masculinity and with this newfound power, right? This is why what the divestors say and what the swirlers say and what some of these other women say is important, because they're yelling it. I want a man in this power position. I want a man in this position. And all of these feminists and all of these LGBTQ speakers and all of these queer folks and all of these non-binary folks, they completely ignore the women yelling from the mountaintops with a blowhorn, I don't want what y'all are selling. And once again, like the definition of theory says, what does it say again? Especially one based on general principle, independent of the thing to be explained. Independent of it. Independent of speaking about and explaining the dance between men and women, which is what we do in this red pill space ad nauseum. And yet you let some of the older women speak, and they want to speak about the power differential between older men dating younger women. You let some of the LGBTQ speak, they speak that way. You let the non-binary folks speak, they speak that way. Once again, independent of the actual practical application of these things. All of this stuff sounds nice. It sounds nice. To want a perfect 50-50 distribution of power between heterosexual men and heterosexual women. That sound nice. Or the women being the one with the power and the money. And like Chris Rock said over a decade ago in a stand-up, ain't nothing dry up the vagina more than having to reach in the wallet. But when you're queer and you don't have to worry about that because you don't date men anyway, you can theorize about powerful, kick-ass women who still end up with men and produce children for you to adopt. Right? Because you don't got to worry about it because you have all of this theory with none of the concept of being practical. And as I said before, theory is important. We need people to think outside the box. We need people to advocate for more and bigger than what is. That is absolutely, positively true. But once again, the theory without being practical, without looking at what's actually going on and what's going to go on, most likely, all you do is just cause damage. That's all you do. Right? And that's all many of these people do. You just go video essay after video essay from Kim from Fort Harriet, feminists, black feminists, sometimes Julesy, right? T Noir, across the board. Chris, even the people that don't kind of claim this, Chrissy, all of that swirler divester theory without being practical and seeing the white men are that racist. They're not interested. All that theory, which you theorize about what this magical man with all of this money and all of this status. Oh, black men don't got it like that? All right, fine. We're going to white men. Theory without the practical. Julesy advocating for women to straighten up their networks because you can't rely so much on this kind of romantic love. Meanwhile, black women are already living that life and they're miserable. Newsflash, Julesy, black women are already living that life and they're miserable. The theory without the practice. They're already relying on their mothers, on their sisters, on their girlfriends, the friend circle. They're already relying on the other men in their life that they're not romantically involved with. They're already living that life and they're miserable. Newsflash. Right? Shout out to Obsidian and Miss Brown Sugar. I love that stream they did reviewing Kim. But brother Obsidian, I would, if anybody can, timestamp this for him and tell him to go back. I think it was that video and listen to Kim speak about her contempt for blue collar men. I think it was that same video. He didn't go all the way through it. Or it might have been one of the other videos she produced around the same time. Because as a blue collar brother, Obsidian, I know he has a million things to say. And shout out to him and his lovely woman. They did a genius job. And we all know theory without practice. We all know and I want to say this because there is something to be said, and and I don't know how many of you other brothers and sisters have been in, well, you sisters have definitely seen it, but you other brothers, let me be very clear with this, because I've seen this with my own two eyes. I've seen the pretty girl walk in the room with all the attitude and the condescending look in the room to women who we would deem as less attractive. I've seen it. So I don't outright dismiss when some of the less attractive women say something about women that we would maybe find more attractive. They're not always wrong. They're not always wrong. I've been in the room. I've seen it. No one had to tell me anything. No one did tell me anything. I've seen that woman walk in the room, and it's not confidence. It's arrogance. It's bow down bees, right? I've seen it. So there is something to be said about that. But on the other hand, there are the Kims, and that's what makes that, for those of you that always like, Mr. Z got this like thing with Ostefco. No, her candor. That's what makes why, that's one of the reasons why I watch her, because she actually says it. She doesn't try to hide behind some feminist movement or female empowerment or any of that. And excuse me, she actually says it. Then you have the Kim from Fort Harriets and the Chrissies on the other side, who despise some of these more attractive women. They hide behind colorism and black feminism and all of this being non-bi. And really their issue is, I'm not the pretty bee. I'm not the one that the men swoon, well, men don't swoon, the men go goo goo gaga over. I'm not that person. So I'm going to hide all of my contempt for these men that I want, that are not interested, or that I can't keep. They may have bedroom fun with me, but they won't stay. I'm going to hide all of my contempt for that dynamic behind some movement. Right? That's where, once again, Kim from Fort Harriet come in. That's where Chrissy come in. That's where probably Lexus Exodus comes in. Mahogany Pink, these people we never seen their face. Right? That's where these people come in. Aloho and all of those people come in with that. Supposedly advocating for women and black women's voices. And every once in a while, you'll admit it. Like when Kim admitted it, when she was like, well, I may not have the options or choices. I can't remember if she said options or choices, but I do have the choice not to F with you, right? She's admitting, yeah, I may not have all of it, and I definitely may not have the access or be able to keep the type of dude I find attractive, but I do have the choice to be single, lonely, and miserable. The theory without the practice. Because other women listen to you, Kim. And you know that I've read through your comments for so many videos, and you know they miserable. And they're practically saying it. They're saying everything but miserable. And people like you, and people like Chrissy, and people like Real Talk with Yanni, and people like Paris Milan, and people like Lexus Exodus, and people like Mahogany Pink, y'all are gonna walk these women right off the cliff of that extra low. It's not about dying alone. Y'all ignore or miss the point of what Kevin is saying. Yes, technically we all die alone. Or at least most of us, right? If you don't die in some horrific type of, plane accident or something like that. Or a car crash or something, right? Yes. But when we speak about dying alone, it's that entire life, or that in your older age, not having that loved one, or that person you share all those intimate memories with, and they're on the side of your bed, right? It's not about the platonic relationships, your friendships. It's not about that, right? We're not speaking about that. We're speaking about that intimate relationship with the opposite sex, with another. And the thoughts and memories when they pass or when you pass that rush through your head. It's not about the love between you and your daughter, you and your son, you and that friend. It's not about the co-workers and the associates that's like, oh, you heard? Yeah, I'm gonna go to the funeral. That's so sad. I have such great memories of that person. No. It's about that intimate love that barely could live without you. That's what we're talking about. So Julesy and all of you rest of you could speak about, oh yeah, we all die alone. Yeah, that sounds nice. Y'all keep on blowing smoke up the rest of those women's a-holes. The theory devoid of practice. And y'all are theorizing about stuff that the women we're speaking about are living. They're living it. And y'all still blowing smoke up their rear end. Chrissy pressing her subscribers, stop talking about it, be about it. This divested life essentially is what she said. Stop talking about it, be about it. She's pressing them, and guess what? They're already trying to do it, Chrissy. I'm reading through different comments. These women talking about, yeah, I've been swirling, or I've been divested for 6, 7 years. I've had great it's not relationships, but yeah, great relationships with these people. Ma'am, your statement alone says you're lying. You've been divested for 6, 7 years and you don't got a ring. I thought the whole purpose was to get married, not for the great experiences, but to hit that end goal. Now, yeah, there's going to be people that they just want to perpetually date and have this single fun, of course. But for most of you, the goal is, unless someone tell me I'm wrong, the goal is to get married. And what you're saying is black men are lacking. Black men are not taking relationships seriously, so you're going to find better pastures with non-black men, particularly white men, let's be honest. Y'all doing it for the money, y'all want a lifestyle. And so when you say you've been dating for 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years, non-black men, and you don't got a ring, what does that say? The theory without the practice, without the practical. It sounds nice, but in practice, maybe not. Right? We have all this across the board. Once again, whether we're speaking about the people that are supposedly advocating for black women when it comes to colorism, or for them what they call featureism and texturism and all this other stuff, or all the way across on the other end when it comes to the more political spectrum with black feminism and black womanism, regardless, it's a whole lot of people with a whole lot of theories. But when you put it on the wood, when you say, hey, show me in practice how this is going to work. Show me the practical application of this for women. Forget the men. For the same women you advocate for, show me. Because in the black community, they're already living the life that these women are speaking about. We already got hoods full of single moms. We already have women-led households without the men. We already have that. We already have women leading on their network devoid of the intimate relationship with the opposite sex. We already have that. We already have the LGBTQ women that have one day they're with the man, the next day they're with the woman, they're living free and fast. We already have that in the black community. We already have the single mom who's in a lesbian relationship right now. She got 2 kids, 2 biological children, and she's in a lesbian relationship. We all the things y'all are advocating for, we already have it. We already have the dark-skinned sister that every other word out of her mouth is on some colorist stuff. She don't consider light-skinned black women. Every time they open their mouth, and she start talking to them about the privilege they have because they're the preference. Shout out to Obsidian, he's 100% right. Shout out to I think his lady's name is Brown Sugar. Shout out to her, they're right. How much feminist language flows around in the black community. You'll be at the cookout and some random sisters start using feminist language. We already have that in the black community. We have that. All of these things that y'all are advocating, we already have that, and the women are miserable. All those theories y'all have. Y'all not even looking around to see how much we are, in practice, we already got it. Everything but shoring up the nuclear family. The heterosexual nuclear family. Y'all advocate for everything but that. The power that Kim over here insists that Brittany Renner is speaking about accountability. And Kim speaking like, and it's funny, Obsidian says that Kim speaking like she a freed slave, but the power dynamic between men and women traditionally, they do see that as constraining. So of course they see it as slavery. That's why Kim says she doesn't want to have children. She doesn't want to be linked to any man in that way, even if they're not romantically together. That's why she's even kind of iffy on marriage. She does not want that. And at least she's open enough to pretty much say, she never exactly said it, but at least she's there. other black women don't want the power dynamic too. That's why they have sex with you. They in the back of their mind, they know they not staying. And they will break up and destroy that potential nuclear family because they don't want the power dynamic. They don't want it. At least she pretty much said it, right? Intersectionality is political narcissism for black women. Big Kev. And shout out to you for the super chat. Exactly. And shout out to Richard Reeves for calling out Kimberly Crenshaw because everybody see it now. Everyone sees it now. Intersectionality is black women getting into the house of power through the back door, trying to flip the entire power structure upside down, and definitely for black women using intersectionality to benign neglect black boys and black men in their specific plights. The only thing you might hear one of these intersectional feminists advocate for when it comes to black men is, once again, prison reform, maybe, and some of these queer notions of masculinity, right? This non-binary concept of manhood and masculinity. If you're lucky, you'll hear them speak like that. If you're lucky. That's if they speak of you at all. Definitely if they speak of you positively at all. They may speak of you, but it ain't going to be positive. Right? And so that's where Kim comes in. Kim comes in with that. I wanted to stress that, you know, all the theory in the world. And you hear this, like I said, you hear this from Julesy. You hear this across the board. And there's nothing wrong with it. We need theory. I want to stress that. We need theory. We need people with a political imagination outside of what is happening. Mr. Z's not saying not to have your concepts, your ideology, your theory. But your theory in a vacuum is dangerous. You advocating for what you feel should be without looking at what is and how people actually move is dangerous. It's dangerous. And I want to stress it's dangerous. Because that's what much of the black community is now. All of your theories, specifically for this kind of chattering class, this political class, this feminist class, black women advocate in a vacuum class of women. Once again, whether they're all the way on the Chrissy Paris Milan side of the game or all the way on the Kim from Fort Harriet, Julesy side of the game. And then the LGBTQ brothers and sisters in the middle, like Funky Deneva and Themis. Right? All of these people with their theories, and then it's like you can't be walking around with the blinders can't be that serious. Because the people black women you're advocating for are living the lives y'all are advocating for. Chrissy, many of them already dating the white guys. No luck. That's why Alexis Exodus had to make the video she made. The white guys that are cringy, that are abusing black women, that are playing black women, that are playing black women for their money, unaliving black women. They could smell the desperation, and for even those of you that are not desperate, they know the power dynamic. They know the back and forth between black men and black women in the black community, so they playing y'all. Even for those of you that are not insecure, the white women, the racially ambiguous women, they know about your back and forth with black men and this colorism thing, so they keep on blowing smoke up your rear end. Chrissy speaks about that all the time. The white feminists blowing smoke up y'all rear end when it comes to this feminism stuff. The LGBTQ black men and brothers blowing smoke up y'all rear end when it comes to black feminism, black womanism, intersectionality, non-binary. All of that sound nice. Ooh, Big Kev. Ooh. Big Kev said they mad because they can't screw their way to white women. What? Yeah, you. It's fun. It seems more and more like projection day by day, which is black men are talking black and sleeping white, and y'all just want the white man's prize. That's why y'all with white women. Meanwhile, just like there was brothers talking black and sleeping white, so you say, coming out the civil rights movement, and that's why y'all really mad because some of these Black Panther brothers was piping white women. Meanwhile, what we find out, and excuse my background, y'all, what we find out, black women were out here having some bedroom fun with the white guys too. Some of those Black Panther sisters was piping and ended up with the white guy after, somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s. They're having sex with white men and white women too. Right? Trail Billy said where the white women's at. For hysterical. And thanks for the super chat again on Big Kev. Yeah, come on, man. So y'all are advocating for a power dynamic oftentimes that you don't even want. When you actually are there, or the women that you are supposedly advocating for with this don't even want. Right? Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. So, that I really want to stress that today. The theory versus what's practical. And what's actually happening and what's going to happen. Look how black women are miserable, y'all. It is not only because of their financial situation. I know people want to, that's the first place people are going to go. And yes, it does matter. Their financial situation does matter. But half the reason they're in their financial situation is because they're not connected to a man. That part. Shout out to Compassionate and Callous. He says, defensive projection. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Right. So we have to be honest about the theory. Mr. Z is never going to tell y'all theory matters. Where would we be if black people didn't have a concept bigger than what they were living and fought for it and died for it and sometimes unalived for it, unalived other people for it? If it's that serious, I'm down for it. Oh, yeah, Mr. Z rapping now. Right? But if you are so stuck on the theory without being practical, once again, look around you in the black community. Like I said, y'all have the LGBTQ sisters anyway. Y'all already have the single moms. Y'all already have the neighborhoods, block after block after block of single moms. You have it already. Right? You already have y'all talk about food deserts, the man deserts. Y'all heard it here first. You already have the man deserts in the hood. One or two dudes, kind of bummy, one or two dudes that come through and smash some of the women. You go to the local high school, middle school, ain't no man in sight. Maybe a coach. We already have the man deserts in the hood. All the things y'all advocate for, we see them already. We already have them. And y'all still talking. And Big Kev says, and thanks for the super chat. Big Kev said they also mad because American black men don't worship white women, and that isn't that what they keep on now. At least now they're saying your preference. They're not sticking to only white women. This is a Chrissy concept, right? Your preference, right? So yeah, I had to come in today with this because I've been listening to a lot and once again shout out to Obsidian. And I want to do a review on Obsidian and Brown Sugar's review of Kim from Fort Harriet because they did such a I agree with them so much. There's things I disagree with. I don't think me and Obsidian align so much politically. I would love to have a conversation with him about some of that stuff one day. Um, but a lot of this, the Kim from Fort Harriet's, that kind of bourgeois, um, intellectual, and hiding your anger and your resentment at black men for you not being one of the women or have the look that they necessarily often go for, which by the way, not and at least Kim has never said it, but she attended Harvard. If you really that chick, you could have ended up with a white dude. You went to Harvard. You went to Harvard. So, hey, at least she's honest with that. And better you said in my Abba voice, it's a sickness. He says, this is a sickness. Thank you for the super chat, better you. And yeah, no, it really is. When you have theories without thinking about the practical, it is a sickness. It is a sickness. And we have a lot of black people in the black community that buy into these concepts without just opening your eyes. Just open your blinds and see what's going on in the black community with all of your theory. And this is why black men are so incensed. Heterosexual black men are so incensed because we know that's why y'all are trying to push us to be these hyper rich individuals. We know that's why y'all trying to push us to build this huge ass tent for the black community because we know you want your theory to work devoid of what's practical. That's what all of this black men, what have you built stuff comes from. Why haven't you built the super strong safety net? Or why haven't you built the tent? That way, no matter what I'm advocating for and how insane it is, I still won't fall. Or I still won't get wet. So the tent so I don't get wet and the excuse me and the canopy so I won't fall. And the net so I won't fall. That's why these people advocate for these type of things often. Because that's the only way their theory will work. And even that would make sense if you would actually say it. I want black women to live free and fast, devoid of men, don't ever have to worry about a man, don't ever have to worry about being not being insufferable, don't ever have to worry about their attitude. That's where Kim was coming from, right? Give us free. So I want men and I want the government, I want society to build the net and the tent. That way I don't ever have to worry about what an individual man is saying. Right? You could be honest about it. Right? That's what this really is. That's where Cynthia G and Chrissy come in and what have you built? Paris Milan come in, what have you built? Why can't you build? Because we already know Chrissy's on somewhat. She didn't say, is it polyandry or whatever the hell? So what have you built where I could do this? I could just live free and fast and don't have to worry about the consequences. They need to stop. They stop at the period of what have you built? No, continue that sentence. What have you built so I don't have to worry about the consequences of my actions? And this is why Shout out to Obsidian for peeping this too. This is why Kim speaks about this harsh punishment. And I agree with Kim. Some people get way too off on punishing others. I see that if you know, some of y'all see that with white folks when they speak about certain things. It's like you getting off on punishing people for the smallest things. There's something real maniacal and sick about that. So Kim does have a point with that. Some of this obsession with punishing people for some of the smallest crimes. But with that said, though, Obsidian is right. When you don't suffer any consequences, or you get a little tap on the wrist, you become Kim. Arrested Development, you become her. Hiding your anger and your resentment for not being that chick behind a movement and a cause. You thought you had the pretty Brittany Renner on your side. And now you see her as backpedaling, and so you mad. And you calling her a pick-me. Kim, you're a whole Harvard attendee. I don't know what you call them when they don't graduate. You're a whole, and you're calling, and you need to know how your position looks to men, including black men. A sister that admits she's 5'2", speaks about her brown nose and her browner skin and whatever, who admittedly knows she may not be the most, traditionally attractive to so many men, including non-black men. I always gotta stress that because, sisters get in that weird space where they think, oh, I may not be attractive to black men, but white men find me attractive. I think Ostefco got something to tell y'all about that. But, right? And on the other side, you chastising Brittany Renner about what you deem as backpedaling. Right? And Jamfar said middle age and dark age draconianism. Yeah, I don't get off on like beating up heavily on people for the smallest infractions. That's sick to me. I don't get off on that. Like, I've seen parents, and growing up, you see different relatives or different, and they like their kid just breathe the wrong way and they on them. And they think that's discipline. I can only theorize, talk about theory, because I don't have children, but I don't see me being that parent. And I don't get off on that, but I do believe in punishment, and you're going to have to get this work sometimes. Right? So yeah, the draconian freaking, you spit gum on the sidewalk, so now we got to hit you with the guillotine. No, I'm not on that. Yeah, that's weird to me, and yeah. Right? So, I think listening to her speak and her admitting, like, and speaking the way and admitting she kind of got off on watching Brittany Renner go around, calling men out and insulting men. She got off on that. Let's be honest, Kim didn't want to say it. You got off watching black men's, air quotes, preference hurt and crush them and insult their intelligence. Because you, as a sister who might be on the other side of that with your physical appearance, you know what it was? You didn't want to sound like Chrissy. You didn't want to sound like Cynthia G, but that's what you were on. Look at their preference crushing them. Look at their preference insulting them. Look at their preference playing them. That's what you were on, Kim. It's okay. You can admit it. That's why you loved when she was going around. Look at that preference, rubbing you, playing PJ Washington on them. Look at their preference. That's your preference, black men. At least Chrissy and Cynthia G them actually have the ovaries to say it. Once again, but because Kim is a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more well-spoken, she's hiding behind philosophers and black feminists of old, so she doesn't word it that way. She doesn't outright come out and say it. She doesn't do the preference talk. Not overtly anyway. Trell, you see me, Trell? Ovary up. You could say it. Black men have heard worse. Y'all have advocated for worse. Y'all have said worse. You could say it. You could ovary up. The theory without the practice. See, Brittany Renner has been to the promised land with on somebody else's dime. Brittany Renner has been to the promised land. When we say promised land, we mean dating or having sex with the super baller dudes, the chisel chin dudes, being flown out, being this, being that. She's been there. Kim hasn't. Kim is upper middle class. She's making her own money. She's of a different class. Yeah, that's cool. But that's all for her. Yeah, I know she didn't necessarily struggle financially. Her people had money, and now she's made her own money off of YouTube fame. But that's the difference. Kim hasn't been flown out, from my understanding. Maybe one of you dudes was flying her out on the low, right? So that's see the difference between being kicked off of Mount Olympus and looking up out Mount Olympus is you know what that the peak looks like. Kim could only talk about theorize about it. Brittany Renner been there. That's the difference, Kim. That's why she was probably never gonna stay on what she was on. And you know the difference, Kim? She admitted that she was bitter and angry. She admitted it. You, on the other hand, keep on talking like you've elevated past that. Kim, no, you haven't. Shout out to your therapist. Kim, no, you haven't. You just do what a lot of educated sisters do. You hide your resentment and your anger behind philosophy, behind black feminism, behind black women empowerment, behind theory. At least Brittany Renner admitted that she was angry, she was coming from a hurt place, and she had to take some accountability. You, on the other hand, detest that word accountability because you never want to admit that half of the things you're saying, Kim, right now, Kim, is coming from a place of anger and resentment at black men, especially whatever dude that you claim hurt you. You don't want to admit you still coming from that place. You ain't healed from that yet. At least, Stefco, when she spoke, y'all heard that. Y'all remember that. Stefco saying it like clapping it up for Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, and she admitted why, and she went back all the way to childhood with it. At least we get that type of candor from her. At least we get that type of candor from Stefco. Kim from Fort Harriet, on the other hand, nope, just hiding behind theory and concepts and philosophers, and black feminists and black womanists, and yeah. When you two, Kim, are a bitter, angry sister who's mad about the man you can't get or the man you can't keep, and stop pretending like you don't care, like you're above it. Let me pause right here with this. In our society, we need to stop speaking about our intellectuals like they're not human beings. We need to stop speaking about our educated class and our rich class like they're not human beings. They're jealous too. They're angry and bitter too. They still holding on to childhood resentment too. And Kim from Fort Harriet and Chrissy and a lot of these other content creators, you hear it in them and they hide it behind everything else, behind intellectualism. No, you bitter too. You're not above it either. You're not above it either. You're not above being human in these human emotions either. You just hide it different. You speak about it different. You use different words in different language. But you a bitter, angry sister like the rest of them. All Harvard did was allow you to use a different vocabulary saying it. This is where 4 and 5 syllable words come in, right? And Jamfar asked, Mr. Z, you watched her leftover men video? Yeah, I did. But I don't remember it well. I don't remember it well. Yes, I did. And there you, better use is crazy thing about it is Kim a regular looking lady. If her attitude was different, I feel she would be wifed already. I agree. I agree. But once again, I stated previously, they think we can't smell the anti-black man in them. They think, oh, I'm dating her, I'm the exception to the rule. They think we on that. And some men are on that. Some men are on that, but not all and not most. Oh, I'm the exception to the rule. She's saying all of this weirdo feminist stuff. She despises and detests black men. She detests blue collar black men. But you know, I'm white collar and I look like this and move like that. So I'm the exception to the rule. Nope. We could smell it. We could smell it. And there you go. Right? So y'all like, share, subscribe. I'm about to end it out. Got things to do. And I wish I could place this order and then still come back and talk to y'all while I'm waiting, but that's gonna be a long wait. It's gonna take 2 minutes, no, too long. It's gonna take 2 minutes. So, yeah. But yeah, so you know, Joe Bentley said the not me Negro, for real. And there are certain brothers that think that hear women speak like this. They hear it, and they really think, oh, not me. But there's not enough of them. That's why them white guys are calling y'all out all over the internet. I'm dating these black women, and they're speaking about black men. Oh, thank God I'm dating you because black men, da 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 da, all negative, all pejorative, all disparaging. Because they know they're not an exception just because they're a white man. They know you got an issue with men. You specifically, because of your own anti-blackness, have an issue with black men because of your upbringing and you were in high school with them and they wasn't checking for you. But the white man know, oh, you got an issue with what you see in the mirror. I'm not exceptional. I'm not different. I'm not a Me Too man. Right? So yeah, all this theory, I'll end it out on that. All this theory without the practice. It sound nice, but meh. And shout out to all of y'all for coming in. Like, share, subscribe. Right? But the theory without it being practical, right? Or without thinking about the practical, we end up here. And I would like for some of our intellectual class to actually consider this, all that theory, especially you LGBTQ people, non-binary people, queer people. I know Q and LGBTQ is queer. I know. And there you go. Charles Irby says, I saw a video of a Kenyan American woman blamed the black American men for her dating white men. She said we ejected her. Probably rejected. I knew that's what you meant. Rejected her. Yeah, thank you for the correction. Yeah, of, of course. At least she's being honest. She felt rejected by the type of men she found attractive and wanted. And so she's dating white men. I would like to direct y'all to and rest in peace, St. Kevin. I would like to direct y'all to the video Kevin did about the BMW, the ice blue BMW with the interior and da 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 da. And you get the bins and you do this and your neighbor pull up with the car you wanted. And you ask him, how did he get it? And da 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 da. And he said, I waited. I did this, I did that. Exactly. And he made that video after that swirler called into his video, into his stream, going in on black men. But she secretly, you could tell, even though she had the white dude, she still wanted a black man. And I feel sorry for you white guys who, after 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years of marriage, you thought you could overcome, and it's become so, it's reeking off of your wife that she's with you, but she secretly still loves black men. She's still thinking about Tyrone. She's still thinking about the best sex she ever had, and it ain't you. It ain't you. It's a black man. Shout out to y'all who go through that. See, when the white women leave us, she leave us for money. She leave us because we don't make enough. That's the same reason she leave y'all. When the black women leave, it's for the same type of reasons. But when that black woman step out on you, oh, it's for everything usually but the money. Oh, when she cheat on you with the black dude, imagine that. You're a white guy and your black wife is cheating on you with the black guy. Your Asian wife is cheating on you with the black guy. Your Latina wife is cheating on you with the black guy. Oh, the horror. Right. Shout out to neighbor. It looked like a phantom until a phantom roll up. Yeah, we remember the cat. Exactly. Exactly. And as a South Florida native, let me tell you, I don't know why people was talking about that Chrysler 300 like it looked like a Rolls. It does not. Y'all need, if you've ever seen a Phantom up close, I've driven one. I'm not bragging. I've driven one. No, it does not. The Phantom is huge, like SUV huge. The Phantom is huge. It's like a big old Cadillac. That's what it must have looked like back in the 60s and 70s when you was driving around in a big old Cadillac. That's what the Phantom is now. It dwarfs a Chrysler 300C, and it makes big Cadillacs look small. A Phantom is huge, y'all. The interior space is kind of big, but you know, not as big as maybe the outside would suggest. But a Phantom is huge. Right? And so I'll end it right there. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? Or like, share, subscribe. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm about to end it out. There ain't no, you know, unless Big Kev do one of those last minute Hail Mary, put a comment with the, are you gonna do another? Are you gonna do a live, Mr. Z? He caught me slipping one time, right? And Namer says, I didn't even want to be in this lane. This some BS. Exactly. Exactly. Mr. Z has never had car envy, right? Mr. Z has never, I grew up in South Florida with dunks and 20s, 24s, 26s, 28s, 30s, 32s, really 30s. 30s about as big as people usually get with the rims, right? Imports, lowriders, you name it, we got it. Lifted trucks on mud tires, we got everything. In the Tri-County area, you see everything. Eurosport, old German cars, Italians, expensive 300,000, $400,000, $500,000 cars. Literally went to Cars and Coffee a couple weekends ago. Ferrari F50 pulled up. One of the rarest cars on the planet. Ferrari F50 pulled up. You see everything down here. So I never had car envy. Even growing up, there obviously there's cars I wanted. Shout out to the 300ZX, right? And the R33 GTR that I realize I'm never gonna get now, right? But yeah, No, Spain, man, me too. And shout out to Big Kev. Big Kev said they want black men to see white women as dusties so bad. Oh, deities. Oh, deities. I'm sorry, deities so bad. Yeah, but we don't. Plain Jane's. Look, there was a video online, and it was so true. It was a brother grinding on a white girl at a house party, and like his boys were looking at him like, ugh, right? For any of you that seen that video on IG, they swear we be sweating white girls. Most white black men ain't sweating white women like that. That's why Eddie Griffin made that joke. I need my white, B. I love my white B. We not like that. That's why he made the joke saying that's not us. Right? I need y'all to find out. I might try to save it and post it, because for real, the concept of like we are in love with white women, not really, right? Not really. It's like a bologna sandwich. If you're hungry, I guess, right? But that man, that video was funny. Like, the brother, they look like young brothers. They're at a house party, and one of them is kind of hugging up on and grinding up on the white girl, and then the other ones are looking at him like, nah. And then in the caption it says, "Not on Martin Luther King holiday" or something like that. And I died when I read it. Right. But all right, y'all. So let me pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. And I will holler at y'all later. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content, and yeah, and yeah, man. I don't know what the obsession with black men with white women people think black men have. And like I said, with the theory versus practice, or practical, better yet, and I know I use them interchangeably in this conversation. I want people to really consider this, especially some of you non-binary folks, you queer folks. I know y'all don't care, and y'all got an agenda. So once again, that's why I'm saying y'all are pushing theory without being practical and without being honest how hypocritical the women are and what the women actually find attractive outside of what they're saying. This is where Jennifer Lundquist and Dr. Bugs comes in, right? In Detroit says, Mr. Z, it was a divester behind this. I think you're saying behind the brother in Brazil. Yeah, I haven't been following that story tough, but from the little bit of musings I've been hearing, yeah, I figured as much. I figured it's somebody pretty much said it without saying the divester part, right? So yeah, I nothing to see here. What y'all thought divestors were just Americans? Nah, bro. You, like I told y'all, the sister, that there was a African sister that called in from South Africa. There was a couple of Haitian sisters that called in to Real Talk with Yanni, and they were on some divester stuff too. So it ain't just right. And the sisters from that were Haitian descent, they were Haitian, but they didn't sound Haitian. They were Americanized. But either way, yeah. So divester is not just, y'all gotta remember, like, white supremacy is real, and like people of color around the world fell for it too. It's not just the black people who got a thing for white people and think white penis or white vagina is gonna save them from life and struggle. A lot of people, especially outside of the Western context, outside of America, really think white men are the second coming of Jesus. A lot of Latinos, black people and on the continent, East Asians, South Asians, they really look at white people like the second coming of Jesus. And there's a video of an African sister speaking on that and saying, like, when she came to America for college or whatever, or something like that, she's saying she couldn't connect with us. And she said later on she realized why. She was, you know, um, and in so many words, she was saying, I was on some coon stuff. I was on some coon stuff, and the black American people, they loved themselves, and they knew what being black was better than I did. And so of course I couldn't connect to them because they had an understanding of blackness in a way I didn't. And this is an African sister saying this. So, I'll truly pause right there. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Mr. Z out. Love, peace, and chicken grease. All right, y'all. And yeah, like I said, for all of you video essayists, all of you philosophers, all of you Afro American studies people, all of you, the theory without being practical, I don't know. Y'all been trying. Y'all been working on it. Y'all been trying to do it. It ain't looking good. All right, y'all. Mr. Z out. All right.